Because I was strolling Google, as you do.
Strolling Google.
Strolling the Googs. Labels can shape expectations that are set for other people, creating stereotypes. These stereotypes can result in unrealistic expectations or expecting less from someone despite what they are capable of. And they've given an example. Someone who can expect a person who is Asian to be good at math, even if they aren't.
Dr. Mate, which was on Purpose podcast with Jay Shetty, he was saying that different people receive labels differently. And that is quite true. Like if someone has a strong belief or is really confident in their strong core identity, they're not easily swayed or they're not moved by what others are saying, like what they are telling them. Like you see people with a disability who are doing Olympic marathons, like those are the people who have a strong core identity. It's like, yes, I have a disability, but doesn't define me. Like I can still do this, this and this.
Yep.
But as opposed to someone who is taking on this label and taking it on and saying that, yes, I am disabled, they don't push themselves out of that, or they feel like they're worried to push themselves out of that.
Yeah, and that comes back to what I was saying before. Like that mindset behind labeling is just has a massive impact.
Yeah, and like what I was trying to say is that, yeah, there are labels, there are identities, but don't fully immerse yourself and associate yourself with it so much that becomes you. Like you should be able to use your own strong core goals and purpose to grow from these things. Like you might be this certain identity or label at the current point in time, but you can always either change that or move out of that. And another example that I think is really good is people who are really shy. And they're going to a social event and they don't want to go by themselves or something like that. And they would reject the invitation because they're like, I'm shy, I don't want to talk to other people, or I can't talk to other people because I don't know anyone, I don't know how to talk to anyone. And the longer you associate yourself with being shy or being unable to talk to people, can't make conversations, the longer you're going to be stuck in that, and you've labeled yourself as shy, so you can't grow out of that, right?
Yeah, and that is a good point. It's like if you continuously label yourself and reiterate that, your mindset's always going to think, oh, well, that's me, I can't do shit. You know what I mean?
And it becomes a habit, like a habit for yourself.
I wanted to throw in another example while you were talking about that. So it's just like saying, same example, like some people who have already accepted the fact that they have bad temper, right? People who define themselves or label themselves as, oh yeah, I am angry, I have a bad temper, they leave it at that, right? And then even though they label themselves as that, they don't do anything to look outside of that, or they don't accept the fact that they need to.
They're not willing to change.
They're not willing to sort of change and adapt to other means. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if someone tells them, hey, like you should try and see how you're responding to people because you have a bad temper, their response is like, yeah, I have a bad temper, so what? And that's them like accepting that is them.
Yeah.
But that's them unwilling to change and just accepting that this is the label that's going to be them, like now and forever.
Yeah, they should always be open to look elsewhere. Like it's more about, yes, I do have a bad temper, but I'm willing to work on it.
Yeah. So this last example, I think I'll throw in a lot of examples this episode. This is a personal one that I can really relate to, is a lot of people, including myself, I used to label myself as a really quiet person, which I am. Like I am a quiet person, but it's like thinking, how much do you want to believe in this and how much do you want to actually set this as your label? So for me, I challenge this label because I don't want to be seen as quiet, like the quiet one, the one who's shy, who doesn't want to talk all the time. Like I push myself out of that, and I think, how do I become more sociable when I go into a new place, like a new job, a new club that I've joined, new gym? Like how do I move myself out of that? So that's another example, is just like, yeah, you have these labels, you acknowledge it, and you think, do you want to change that or do you want to keep that? And for me, I wanted to change that because that's not something that I wanted to stay in, and that's, again, the longer you stay in that, the more it becomes a habit.
I think you could probably consider me as quiet, like when initially, but I like that. I like to troll. I like to appear as if I'm quiet, but when you get to actually know me and I open up, I'm totally opposite.
Yeah, like I'm the same. But I don't know, this can go off topic, but I feel like as a female who's quiet, people can trample over you a lot easier than a guy who's quiet.
Yeah, true. They probably would assume that you're submissive and,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And there has been a lot of times where people would take advantage of me because I know I'm a hard worker, but I'm quiet, so that if they give me a lot of work, I'm not going to say anything about it. So it's like things like that, in situations like that, I don't want to be taken advantage of. And I want to know that, let people know, or let myself know that even though I'm quiet, doesn't mean that I'm shy and I'm incapable of speaking up for myself. So that's what I wanted to change. And like I wanted to change that. So similar, throwing it back to that, Asians are all good at maths. Yes, the label is that I'm Asian, but this and this. So what I was trying to say is, yes, my label is I am quiet, I don't talk much, but that doesn't mean that I'm equal to someone that you can take advantage of.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point. And I think it's good that you're in a mindset where you're like, yeah, I am quiet, but you know when to sort of stand up and be loud and be like, no, I stand my ground.
It's more like I define my own labels. Like labels as a society of someone who's quiet is equal to someone who's shy, someone's introverted, someone's this or that. But I don't let that become who I am. I will set what this label of what a quiet person defines.
No, that's a good example to put for the listeners to understand, in the fact of what you face essentially in your day-to-day aspect.
Because, and you just have to think, is that what you want to stick with, and is this what you want to acknowledge, or do you want to acknowledge it and change it, or define your own label